Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. More, hate less, read comics. It's Blake's Buzz Live.
Buzz, buzz, babies.
Buzz, buzz, babies, and happy Friday. I'm just never going to get tired of that new intro animation. I can watch that shit over and over and over again. Don't worry, I won't make you guys do that. I promise. What's up? Happy weekend. I need it. It's been a long week. I was just talking to the guests about losing power and just how terrible it is to not have air conditioning and Wi-Fi. But I guess if that's like the worst it is, then I shouldn't be complaining, right? Anyways, hope everybody is having a wonderful day. And I have a wonderful guest who's been on the show a couple times before. Very excited to bring him back in. He's the master of kaiju. He's the master behind the Matador, the creator, the wonderful Stephen Prince, creator of Monster Matador. What's up, baby? How are you doing today?
I think that's the best intro I've ever had.
Which is funny because I think the last time you were on, you told me that
the last time was pretty good. Yeah, it just keeps getting better and better. Right?
That's good. Well, hey, as long as it doesn't get worse and worse, that's the goal, right? But yeah, man. So we are here to talk about, of course, comic books. But you have the brand new arc of Monster Matador Live right now. Once Upon Some Monsters in Mexico. We are introducing some new characters. There's going to be some very interesting team ups. Very excited for the big upcoming fight that this first issue very much sets the grounds for, and there's so many cockroaches. Oh my god, just so many cockroaches. I love that you made them the main bad guy, because boy are those terrible little monsters. I can't imagine one that's like skyscraper size, right? But yeah, I've got to read it, so listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. It's very much worth your dollars, and it's funded. So if you back it, you're getting it. It's happening. I'm gonna post a link in the chat for everybody so you can check out that Kickstarter campaign. But yeah, man, how you been? You went to SDCC. You've been doing some shows. You've been doing some signings. You've been busy.
Yeah, I've been busy. Yeah, I just did San Diego, my first time with the table, which was a lot of fun.
It was really your first time tabling? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Or wait, maybe I did. Maybe you told me. I just didn't listen.
First time at San Diego. I've tabled at other shows, but this is the first time. It was pretty nuts. I mean, because any time you do a show, you're always like, is anyone going to stop at my table? And San Diego is it's huge, and I was like, how much would it suck if I didn't sell it, if I didn't sell any books? Because you're literally standing there for like 5 days, like please. But no, I mean, I did. The response was great. I sold a lot of books.
Nice.
Picked up a lot of new fans. Met some, some actual Kickstarter backers in the flesh. Which
cool.
was nice to actually meet people that you only talk to online a lot of the time. Sean Keenan, who's a creator, he owns that Comics to Movies company. He came all the way out to San Diego from Australia, so it's nice to meet. It's nice to meet him in person. Yeah, it's fun. It's always it's weird. A lot of us live here in the LA area, but the only time we see each other is at cons. Just because we're busy, we have kids, and we live in all different places. But so it's nice to catch up with people. And
I saw you guys posted that pic of like all the favorite people I've ever interviewed, like you, David, Dave, Clay, Rich. I'm just using first names, like people are like, who the hell is Blake talking about?
Ryland.
Ryland Grant. Yeah, he was doing.
Use his last name. I did a panel. I did a writing indie comics panel.
That's right. Yeah. How'd that go? What was that? What was paneling
It
at
was good.
SDCC like?
It's just actually this is the second or third panel I've done there. It's fun. I mean, all the panels are well attended. A lot of times it's because they're waiting for the next panel. They want to get see. But at least there are people there that are listening, and those panels. The indie panels tend to be nice because you do get a lot of like aspiring indie creators in there,
Mhm.
and they'll come and chat afterwards, and sometimes a year or two down the line they'll come back and be like, hey, look, I made my comic.
Oh,
I
nice.
remember that. I remember that panel you were in, and I just go, you fool! What have you done?
Yeah, I know we've had several talks about the trials and tribulations of like, being a family man, and well, not you, not me. I'm healthily dying alone. But no, like, the kids and
my kids will let me die.
I remember, I don't remember if it was on my show or if I was watching you on Explain Yourself or something, when like your kids kept like barging into the room, and they knocked over your Matador picture behind you, and it was like, it was pure chaos.
I think that was on Travis Gibbs.
Oh, that's right. That one of his creator hangouts. Yeah. But I know you've talked about it several times, just like how hard, look, traveling to cons, doing a lot of this stuff, with kids, and like, and your wife, who like, and as a lot of people have been, sometimes the significant others in people's lives don't understand like the drive to make comics sometimes, and it's just like, oh, it's just a hobby, you could move on to something else, and sometimes you're like, I can't though, because I have to do this.
It's more like, I love you, I support you, and I get what you're doing, but at any point in time, is there going to be actual money being made from this?
Oh, money and indie comics.
Because it's a lot of time that, you go away to San Diego. She's like, oh, you're going to San Diego for 5, you're going to have fun and get drunk with your friends and blah, blah, blah. But, I also gotta, be on my feet for 5 days. So
there was a lot of hustling there too. I know. Yeah. I loved the pictures you were posting, like having like all the great cosplayers like holding up Matador, and like that was good stuff. But no, I'm glad you moved some books and had fun and got to catch up with awesome people. And I definitely want to go to more cons. Like that's just, but it's so like expensive. Someone even told me with my PR stuff.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Like I could get a pro badge for SDC.
Yeah, you can get a pro badge, but they're not going to fly you out. I mean,
yeah. What? San Diego's not going to fly Blake Morgan of Blake's Buzz out for free? Like, what the fuck am I doing this for? All right, we're signing off tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Back to Monster Matador. We'll have a great weekend.
No, it's great. Actually, I got to tell you, because I tried out my my new drinking thing. I found out, I figured out that like if you drink sake, you don't get a hangover the next day.
Really?
Yeah. So I got one of those big bottles of sake, poured it in a water bottle, drank the whole thing. And the next morning I was fine. Charlie Stickney, who's, the writer, creator of White Ash, comes to my table in the morning to see how I am. He's like, man, it's like walking. He didn't even drink. I just wanted to see if you were going to be able to stand. He's like, how are you so awake? How are you so like, I'm like, sake, man. It's like, it's rejuvenating, the entire bottle. He's like, I didn't have a drink and I'm ready to pass out. So not drinking at San Diego supposedly will give you a hangover. Drinking a bottle of sake, you're good.
Totally fine. That's interesting. Totally. That's one thing I noticed at Kansas City Planet Comic-Con was like, I was like, man, I could have had a whole bottle of Jameson in my backpack walking around, right? And, like, no one cares. I didn't realize. So I think, I don't know. That was my first con too. I was a little nervous and doing like interviews and stuff.
You got to ease into it.
But I think next year Blake's might have to party, unless you're watching Planet Comic-Con. Like I will continue to be a professional. Please keep giving me press passes.
But the other thing is like you go to the bar. I mean, the beers are like $20.
Oh my
So
God. That's
16
insane.
bucks a beer. It's insane. So I'm like, next year I'm doing the bottle sake.
What are you at
too.
an
Bottle
NFL game?
like it was like $6 for the bottle. Felt
Wow.
great. And I felt great the next day. So
I don't not like sake, but it's definitely not my favorite. I remember we pissed off my buddies and I pissed off a sushi place back in our like younger, like just after turning 21, and it's my buddy's birthday.
After
yeah. I never had a fake ID or anything, man.
Oh, really?
I drank at home, or like, I remember like hanging outside begging random people at 7-Eleven to like buy us beer and cigarettes, right? And finally you find somebody who doesn't care about corrupting the youth and they'll say yes. But so yeah, like we're all young, we're stupid, and we're doing sake bombs with Sapporo and a shot of sake, you set the chopsticks on top of the glasses.
I've been there, man.
Yeah.
I've been there, done it.
So it's like a family sushi restaurant. And we have like a room, but the room has like those sliding paper and wood doors. So it's not blocking any noise. And my buddy, I had just started bouncing, no, my buddy was bouncing at the bar that I ended up bouncing at years later. But so my buddy John he's this huge dude, and like he kept like hitting the table, right? And he would hit the table so hard it would knock all the shot glasses into the cups, and then we were slamming them. And every time he did that, like the servers would come in, is everything okay? And we're like, oh, we're just doing sake bombs. And they're like, oh, we usually give you plasticware for that. And we're like, sorry. But yeah, like I guess people complained about us, but we had a big party and we tipped really well, so the servers stood up for us. But yeah, that was one of the last times I got like real drunk. But I was also like sake and Sapporo. I wasn't just drinking sake, but I was definitely hurting that next day.
Yeah, we used to do that. There was a place called, it's like Benihana. It was called Rana Japan, and we used to do that all the time. I got my fake ID at a mall.
Really?
Yeah, back in the days before 2000. I was gonna say before 2011, before 9/11. It was like in Indiana, and it was this mall, and they advertised this like, get your fake ID.
Wow.
And you'd walk in, and it was every single state. And basically what you would say, oh, I'm on a road trip. I lost my license. I need to get a new license. Wink, wink. And they would say, okay, what state are you from? And you would pick your state, and they would do it for you right there. They'd take your picture, put the ID. And I mean, it was just like, really?
That's crazy. Well, when I was a bouncer, everybody was buying them online. Like you buy them from like weird websites and upload a picture. And man, I used to take so many fake IDs from college kids when I was bouncing. Like I was actually talking about this with Joel last night. Like we got so good at it at Charlie Hooper's. We used to nerd out about it. And back in the day, they used to give us like if you pulled a bunch of fake IDs over the weekend, they'd either like give you like a little bonus on the paycheck, or we never took that. We drank. We would drink that little bonus away in a heartbeat. But there was like an incentive to like do your job as a bouncer. But yeah, so many people. Like I used to make girls used to cry. They'd be like, I spent so much money on that. If I flash you, will you give it back? No, go home. Leave me alone. Like, it's just like, it was a weird time. But then, but yeah, like other bars used to send their security over, and we would train them because we were so good at taking fake IDs. And so like, we would like show these other door guys what to look. Dude, we had these magnifying glasses. So like basically like we were reading the micro print on these IDs. And like it's a real dude, yeah, we had nothing better to do.
That's I mean, I went to school in Lawrence by you, University of Kansas.
Oh, that's right. I forget about that. Rock Chalk.
And you look back on it now, I'm like, everyone in the motherfucking bar was under 21, and I always wondered about that. And they would like randomly like, pull an ID, but your ID, it had to be really, really fucking bad for them.
Oh yeah.
To pull it, and sometimes they would just fuck with you because they knew pretty much everyone walking in was underage. I got mine taken away was like 3 weeks before my 21st birthday.
Oh, that works.
But
it works.
It lasted almost, 4 years or whatever.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes when I tell these stories, sometimes I'm like, man, I miss that life. And then I'm like, no, I don't miss it at all. I don't miss getting punched in the face. I don't miss cleaning up drunk.
It's not like Roadhouse. You don't like travel from town to town.
No, no, it's not like that. It's not like that at all. It's a bunch of
whiny Patrick Swayze.
Yeah,
you have a Patrick Swayze body.
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't have that. But yeah, it's a bunch of like whiny servers chomping fucking Adderall to make it through a shift, and then and then the longer you're there, you do more and more stupid stuff, and then you're spending almost all the money you make partying. I had great times, and so a lot of times I don't remember. But like it definitely takes a toll. What's crazy, man, is like, I've been out of that industry 5 years ish or so, and I was in it for 8 years, and all shy of 8 years.
That's a long time.
It's a long stretch, and it was always as a bouncer. Like they kept me around because they always lied to me. They were like, "Oh yeah, we'll make you a bartender," and the bartenders used to make crazy money, and I was like, I want that money, but yeah, I was. It just took its toll. But a lot of the people I worked with, like, or like regulars of the bar, like one bartender, like had to quit drinking because of liver failure. A regular and bartender who used to work at like other, like the hot bars and like come after work, like he died. He died of liver, and he was only a couple years older than me. And so like a lot of these people, like I partied with, like ended up in a bad way. So like I joke around a lot that like comic books and changing stuff like kind of saved my life, and it really did, because like when I got back into comics, I was like, I didn't make enough money to support bad habits and buy omnibuses, right? So you had to like make a choice. It was either like, do I want to read comics or do I want to be an idiot? And then so I slowly started quit being an idiot, until then I was an idiot and got fired for dumb shit. And then but yeah, I'm like getting out of that definitely. And I drink a little bit still, but no, it wasn't like when you work 5 or 6 nights a week and then you drink all night and go home at like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning from your boss's house, and then wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening and sober up and go back to work. It was crazy. But yeah, when I was younger, my dad was a bartender, and we always used to go, like when I turned 21, my dad was bartending, and so like we used to go there, and the owner and my dad would never let any of us pay. Like if we sat at a table, we had to, like, he was like, you get like almost everything for free, so you better tip the shit out of the servers and stuff. So like we took care of people, but no one ever let us pay for anything. So like we all of us young kids, we used to go to this, like, it wasn't a young kid bar. It was like a kind of an old timer bar, but we would all go there because it ended up kind of being like our hot spot, just because my dad worked there, and my dad was a crazy little wild man. It was back when you used to be able to smoke, and my dad would have like, he used to smoke Camel Wide filters, and he would have like 3 ashtrays, one at each end of the bar and one at the middle, and he would always have a cigarette burning like at each. So like anywhere he went at the bar, you could be like, and Deadwood was big then, and so like, did you watch Deadwood?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So Swearingen always called people cocksucker, Yeah. And my dad did that. Like people would come in, sit at the bar. He'd be like, "What do you cocksuckers want?" And they'd be like, "What?" And he'd be like, "What can I get you?" And it was just like, I've never heard that word used so much in my life. And I was always like, we always thought my dad was gonna get his ass kicked, but everybody just thought it was hilarious, and they would like give him. They were like, "Listen to this old guy, this foul mouth, give him a bunch of money." Yeah, it was so fun, and so yeah, like I kind of grew up around the industry and saw my dad have all this great times in it, and I was like, that's what I want to do. And then I spent 8 years in it, and just like, and then finally, I was just like, I'm very glad that my new life is like me in front of a computer hyping comics and interviewing creatives. Like I'm definitely not mad about that. We got a couple people saying hi. We got what's up, Gareth? Hey, thanks for tuning in just to say hey. But as always, the show is available afterwards. You can always watch it later. It's there for you. You can watch it 3 or 4 times if you want. Please do. I need the metrics. Just Daniel, what's up, dude?
Daniel.
Good to have you. But anyway, some of you may not know, we're actually here to talk comics, and Steven has written one of my favorite books.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're I thought we were still in the green room. But I still remember reading your book the first time. I don't remember what Kickstarter it was, but it was one of those deals where, like, based on how many people back, you get like the creator bundle. Like, you guys donated digital copies the cause, and
I think it was Afropocalypse when we first met. It might have been.
That was when we chatted, yeah. But I randomly got your
maybe it was then the 3rd issue of Tango. I don't know.
Yeah, it was randomly included in an issue that it was the first issue of Tango, like as a digital bundle.
I understand. For
like someone else's campaign.
Yeah.
Anyway, I read it and I was like, what is that? I was like, what? He's a bullfighter. He fights kaiju, and not just like kaiju, not like dinosaur looking things, but like mean giant insects. He doesn't have superpowers. He's got a sword and a strong will, and like he's just like it blew my mind. And I remember you kind of told me recently that you were like, dude, people come up and they're like, what's this book about? And you're like, it's this matador who fights giant mother. That's it. I'll buy it. Like,
yeah. Well, and a lot of times too, they'll come back and they'll be like, oh, it's really a book about a matador that fights monsters. And I'm like, yeah, but people are, at San Diego, people are like, so how does he fight them? I'm like, well, he's got his sword and his cape. And they're like, oh, his anime sword. I'm like, no, just a regular sword. Just a regular sword. I'm like, yeah. So he's like a superhero. I'm like, no, he's just a bullfighter. And they're like, oh wow, that's fucking, and they'll grab it. But it's interesting. There's a disconnect because it is a kind of like, people are so used to like the kaiju stuff where it's like, giant robots or an anime setting, or it's a Godzilla style thing where it's the monsters fighting the monsters. So there's kind of a disconnect at first. That's like, oh, it's actually the guy, the matador who's fighting the monsters. And we kind of set it up almost like a bullfight in a lot of them too, because in a bullfight, what they do is they, the picadors, they kind of wear the bull down, for the matador to go into the kill. So he's usually joined by other fighters, other people who are defending their, their cities or their towns or whatever. And in this one, he's in the latest one, Once Upon Some Monsters in Mexico, he's joined by a group of monster fighting luchadors.
And they're awesome. They are so awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna do a spin-off of those guys because they were just so much fun, but because it's the Matador's book, they're kind of like they're in there and they're fighting, but I really like I want to do stuff that's just focused on them.
Yeah.
And they're going to come. I mean, they'll end up being part of the bigger storyline, but yeah, definitely look for a spin-off of those guys. They're led by Dr. Destructor, who's also an actual doctor. So when they get hurt, he patches them up. He's their leader.
Does he make people call him doctor? Like if they're just like Destructor, he's like, excuse me, it's doctor.
No, you have to call him doctor. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but that's part of the humor. That's part of like the quirkiness of the book, yeah, it's fun.
So did you tell me the new art, this new Once Upon Some Monsters, is it going to be another like 3-issue arc? Are you sticking with the standard?
It's going to be 4 issues.
Okay.
So they fight this monster, and then this kind of enemy from the past sort of shows up, and that leads to a journey across Mexico to face them. And then there's a shocking ending. But what I'm trying to do is, for people that don't know, this is the Monster Matador that started with Tango, the Matadors, which is drawn by Fabio Alves and colored by Alex Zeff, is actually a kind of a relaunch of Monster Matador, because I actually wrote and drew 12 issues before this.
yourself, right? They're like back in the day, you did it all by yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And I originally did a couple issues just for fun, just to kind of, and then I had kids and I anyway, one thing led to another.
You never mentioned that before.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But anyway, one thing led to another, but I'm kind of like weaving in that history into the book. So it's going to turn into this kind of bigger story. And what we're going to do is we're going to open up kind of the world of Monster Matador. So we're introducing in Afropocalypse, we kind of hinted at that there's this larger kind of world where people are fighting monsters.
Mm-hmm.
People are trying to figure out where the monsters come from. There's these like different factions. And in this storyline, what we're going to start to do is open up the world even more. And the Matador is going to intersect with kind of like, the big mythology of the world.
Okay.
And that'll set the stage for like the next phase of stories, I guess, if you want to call it.
I'm stoked. I want you to do these forever. Like, I know.
So do I. It's weird. It's weird. If you told me, I mean, like I write comedies, that's like kind of what I wanted to do and what I've always written. And if you told me I'd be writing a book about a matador that fights kaiju, I'd be like, well, why?
Well, I mean, it's not a comedy, but the premise has kind of a comical ridiculousness to it.
Yeah,
but
and you kind of have to.
The tone is not comedic like at all.
Yeah.
Usually,
yeah.
But yeah, I just love it. It's so good. It's so good, and I love the new Burt. We'll show it in just a second, but the new Burt Reynolds variant.
Burt Reynolds,
like because Steven, unlike so many others who go this new route on Kickstarter, Steven does not want to subject his characters and loves to the naughty, not safe for work treatment, and so well, I mean, I guess it's as good a segue as any. I guess we should bring it up. So Steven, our Matador has quite the wraparound variant, which when one of the first things Steven sent me when he told me he was about to go live on Kickstarter, and we were talking, and he was like, dude, look at this. And I was like, because we had joked around about doing
Blake was like, I want to wrap myself around.
I know. I wanted full hog. I told Steve, like when we were joking about it, because there's so many female naked covers and stuff that like a lot of people spend a lot of money on, and no one does like the sexy guy covers, right? And so and I wanted like I wanted his other sword on full display, like I wanted it all, but no, I who knows how that would sell, right? Like boobs selling is one thing, like Matador dongs flopping in the wind, who knows? Like but I mean, also, hey, maybe that could have got you that Charlie Stickney money. We'll never know now.
Maybe we'll try that for next. I've got next issue's covers where we're using Senorita Sangre, who is one of the luchadors.
Okay. Nice. Oh yeah, you showed me that.
Yeah, because Charlie. Every time I see Charlie's always like, Steve, you need boobs on your cover.
White Ash has some attractive elves. I know but yeah, that is one like he's a good looking dude, and you've left like. There's always moments like was it in Afropocalypse when he's like he's got his shirt off and he's bandaging himself and
I don't know if I told I have a decent female audience. I would say it's 60-40, like 60% male. So we have a really big female audience, and I was like, I got to do something for them. I got to figure out a way to get his shirt off, and that wound up being how I had the twist in the second issue of Tango, the kind of cliffhanger, in order for him to get his shirt off. And that was a completely, so it's funny how that kind of, and it worked, and it actually made the story better, but it's kind of funny because in my mind, I was like, wait a minute, like, I got to get this guy's shirt off. I got to get, so and then that led to the opening of Apocalypse, where he's purposely in the shower. He's got the rope, he's got the towel tied around him. So
who else? Who did that after you? Zack Snyder did that after you with the Justice League, with when Ben Affleck's like peeling off the bat costume, and Gal Gadot's Gal Gadot totally eye fucks the shit out of him. She's like,
they stole that from. He also stole the zombie tiger from me in that Army of Thieves movie.
Oh yeah,
I had the zombie tiger. I feel like he must have one of his people
he backs this under a pseudonym and steals all your fucking ideas.
Yeah.
Damn, man. Well, I mean, at least the person stealing them's making millions of dollars. Like,
at least somebody is, right?
That is funny though. Like those are two like big moments that are in Zack Snyder movies. All right. Well, that's I know. I usually when you say his name, the crazy people come out. So I don't know. I don't hate his filmmaking either. But I also don't want him to steal from people.
He has a very. I mean, he's a filmmaker with a very specific style.
Yeah.
And you're either into it or you're not. And good for him. I mean, he's committed to his vision, and people allow him, to realize it on screen. Very few directors have that opportunity.
Yeah. Well, and the studios, I don't want to say they screw him over, but I don't think he's capable of making a movie under 3 hours long. And so all his movies, like he makes these like really, really long superhero movies, and the studios like, you can't do a Lord of the Rings superhero movie. They won't sit in the theater that long. And so they cut them and edit them into a jumbled mess. The theatrical releases end up being really messy. And then later when the director's cuts drop, it's a whole different deal. Like Batman, Superman. I saw that in theaters and didn't hate it. But it was messy. Like, but the Batman, Superman director's cut where where Wonder Woman actually has a plot line and doesn't just like show up randomly for no reason. And you're like, where did you come from? And everything, like everything just gets a little bit more time to breathe and develop that the studio took away from him because they were like, you can't have a 3.5 hour movie. Same thing with Watchmen did the same thing. Sucker Punch had an extended cut that I heard. I still have never seen that movie. But anyways, still quit stealing from my boy Steven, Zach. Like you got enough.
You're better than that.
Here's a pic of our new Monster Squad. Or I guess the Kaiju Squad. These badass luchadores that we get just a hint of a moment with them at the in scene and some action. Seeing them in action is great. And you've always had great art for all these books.
We're lucky. I've been really lucky to be able to keep the team together.
I know. Yeah. Cause they've gotten more and more popular too. Like as the series has extended, but you always get them to come back, which is good.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Write a good comic and treat your artists and colorists and everybody you work with well.
Yeah, and probably pay them too.
and pay them, and they will want to come back. We definitely have a good time together, and it's really nice to see just how much Fabio and Alex enjoy working on the book. They really like they're always excited to get a new script and do the book. We actually have the next issue is actually drawn, and Alex is going to start coloring that next week. And then the third issue, Fabio is going to start drawing. I think it's September. So,
but you wait usually anyway. Like even if you get a jump start on stuff, like you wait till fulfillment. Typically.
Yeah, I get it. To what, to launch or
for another campaign.
Yeah, I mean, we space them out. part of it is just I just can't do like Kickstarter. I don't know how people are doing like 5 or 6 Kickstarters a year now. It's nuts. The first year I did 3 and it broke me. It's a lot. I mean, it just sucks up your time and your life and it's great, but it's also kind of like until I'm like making Pat Shan money, I don't know.
Yeah. But shit, even Pat's doing one a month now. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But he also has like his own like local production studio. Like he's hired people to work for him and stuff. He's on like another level of it now. Like which is interesting because it is like you can, you know, maybe it's not. You're like, I don't think it's interesting. He's making us look bad, Blake. But you know, like Pat figured out.
Good for him. Good for him.
But it, you know, for a while, like a lot of people thought it was impossible to do like a Kickstarter campaign a month, because usually it is, right? Like when you think of like printing and fulfillment and stuff, like a lot of times Kickstarter, I didn't know they did this till recently, but like sometimes if you like try and launch a campaign and haven't fulfilled the previous one, Kickstarter will be like, better fulfill before you do it.
Yeah. You have to have a track record.
Okay.
And you know, for someone like Pat, you have to build trust with your audience.
Yeah.
You know, not everyone can do that. And I mean, he's been doing it since like 2014 or something like that, or even earlier. I mean, he's earned that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, but like you can't do it on your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta, maybe when those kids get a little older, you can start putting them to work.
That's
like,
right.
You bag and board it. You put it in the Gemini. Like you add the bookmark.
Yeah, these child labor laws are not helping. But my kids are always they're like, oh, can we help? I'm like, no, you can't. Because they'll just take the comic and
get kid grease and shit all over it.
Yeah. I'm just like, no. They're like, but we want to help, Dad. I'm like, no, it's okay.
Hey, at least they're supporting you. Hey, look at that. Yeah. Who's that guy? Blake. I like how you don't use the cocaine quote anymore. You've grown beyond the.
No, I love that quote. I love it. And my partner, is my, I guess, called business partner, manager, who's helping me with the non-comic stuff of this. He's like, you can't use that quote. You can't use that. Like, why? It's a great quote. He's like, I can't take this out with that quote on there.
Oh man, yeah. I even my friends, like I remember getting the book with like that you printed the pull quote on, and I was like, even my friends were like, I can't believe they printed that quote on an actual book. I was like, I can't either. That's going to be a forever career highlight. I'll have to get you. We'll have to update it for the next one. I'll have to get you a new one that's a little more exciting, but also safe for publication and promo. People that don't know, a long time ago I wrote a review for this and I said it was like Monster Matador is crazy. It's like bullfighting on an 8-ball of really great cocaine and it's Ryland Grant's fault, because Ryland Grant is the one who like encouraged me to be my gonzo self. And he was like, Ryland was like, that's why you write good review. Like he was like, you write reviews like no one else does. And it's just like, you have a good like eye for content. But when you really go off the rails and get excited and hit it with that like Blake's Buzz magic, he was like, there's nothing like that. And then that cocaine quote happened. Which is like I said, I'll remember that forever. Like no matter what happens with Blake's Buzz, like that's still like that's on a book somewhere printed. It's always gonna be there.
No, I mean
I'm proud of it.
I was like, that review of my comics need more of this. That review, I think I told you, it reminded me a lot of like I forget his name now, but like the guy who used to review music records in like Cream in the 70s.
Oh yeah, the Rolling Stones guy. I remember you talking, because when you told me this story, I thought you were comparing me to Hunter S. Thompson, and I was like, yes, Steven, yes, and you were like, no, not that guy, and I was like, oh.
Lester Bangs.
Yeah,
Lester
which
Bangs.
is also like,
but it was
good.
that kind of energy and that kind of like, just fucking like gonzo that really kind of it excited people, like
Yeah.
you read comic reviews. Oh, Batman goes on the roof. Oh, he talks to whoever. Oh, this is the best Batman comic I ever read. Can't wait till next issue. 5 stars, That's basically most comic reviews.
Yeah.
So like when I started seeing your stuff, I was like, fuck yeah. I want to read these books. If this guy's getting this, if this guy's doing fucking 8 balls of cocaine, and I want to read that. But you know what I mean? Like I want to read that book. But that's the kind of shit that people stand up and take notice and are like, oh, wait a minute, who said what?
Yeah. Yeah, like I remember for Suicide Jockeys for Riley and Grant, I said it was like Pacific Rim and Power Rangers, like partied all night and had a baby that popped out smoking Marlboro Reds, like and like,
it is though that's exactly what that book
and
is.
He put Ryland put that on the back of it, and it was a long pull quote. It was I have like a paragraph on the back of Ryland's trade that's just this huge fucking Blake's Buzz rant about how awesome. But yeah, so you guys like made me unhealthily full of myself. You guys got me like too cocky. I had to bring myself back.
Yeah. And now here you are. Look at what we've done.
Yeah, right. Like now I do this shit for a living.
I had no confidence, and then those fuckers put my name on the
right. But yeah, anyway, speaking of Riley and Grant, another great, utterly bonkers, so goddamn smart and funny. So I mean, great. Clay Adams, another guy who doesn't know what he's fucking talking about ever. I'm just kidding. I love Clay. I love him so much. I'm joking.
I roomed with him in San Diego.
Yeah, him and Dave, right?
Yeah, Schrader. Yeah, Dave Schrader. Yeah.
I was so mad. I was so thinking that Clay and Mick were gonna come to Planet Comic-Con and I was gonna get to party with them. And they skipped it this year, and I was like, you bastards, like, because I like Clay a lot, and Charlie introduced me to Mick, and Clay and Mick like have that office together now, and I've interviewed them both together a lot because they work together on stuff a lot, and like, I don't know, like I just always have a blast talking. I was really like, I was like, I'm gonna actually meet somebody I interviewed like at a con, and then they didn't go, and they live like an hour and a half away. I was like, really? Don't make the drive to Planet. Hopefully they'll be there next year though, because next year's the 25th anniversary of Planet, so it's supposed to be pretty massive. It's supposed to be like a pretty big deal. I
want to try and do one of those Kansas City cons because Tony Donnelly lives out in Kansas now.
Oh yeah,
he's in is it Topeka, I think.
Okay. Yeah, and Jason Aaron lives out here. I met him. Okay. He was on vacation for most of the con, and he showed up randomly. He showed up at a comic shop's booth to do a signing, and no one knew he was going to do that until like the day of, which sucked because like I would have loved it. Would have sucked, but I would have loved to have brought like my War of the Realms omnibus or something for him to sign, right? Like something cool.
Yeah, like 3 long boxes. Man, I would have brought my long box, man.
So I meet him, and I've tried to get him on the show a couple times, right? Yeah. And back when he had a publicist, his publicist was just like, yeah, dude, he doesn't have time. And I was like, okay. And then he doesn't have a publicist anymore, because he's kind of like doing everything himself. And I met him at the con, and I was like, we're kind of talking, and I was like, man, I know you're busy, but like, I'm local. I got this podcast. Like I almost, I was runner up for Kansas City Magazine's local podcast of the year. And I was like, if you ever wanted to come on the show, and he was like, dude, I won't lie. Like I'm real busy, and I got all these books coming out and stuff. And there's all these people around me. And I go, I will wait for you, Jason Aaron. And everybody started cracking up. And I was like, oh shit, that was kind of weird. But luckily he laughed too. So I don't know, maybe he'll remember me. If I hit him
breathing, were you breathing heavy?
Yeah, I was. I was like, oh my God, Jay, I love your Thor run. It's amazing. Scalped blew my fucking mind. I just like, oh my God. But no, yeah, it was, and he like meeting him was weird because I've seen a lot of pictures of him, and he's got like the big beard, and he's a tall, burly dude, but he's not like, I thought he was going to be more like swole a little bit, like more like lumberjackian. And he was a little more trimmed down than I thought he was going to be. But he was like, when he stood up to shake my hand, like I'm 5'11", and I was like, oh, hi, Jason. Like, looking up. So meeting him was really cool. And like, but yeah, ever since then, man, it's like when all you guys were talking about SDCC and Ryland is the one who emailed me, and Ryland was like, he's like, Blake, with this PR stuff, you could get a pro badge. Like if you need help doing that, let me know. And I was like, Ryland, what I need help with is the money to get out there and then staying somewhere. And then you got to eat for a few days. Right. And even if I somehow didn't buy anything at the con, right. It's still, you still either got to crash on a couch, crash on someone's floor at a hotel, and live, and so that was, hopefully one day I can figure out how to manage my money and do more stuff like that. Cause that's all I've wanted to do. Like, is go to more cons, travel, right? The Chicago one it usually happens like that, and Planet happened like a week apart, ECC or whatever. I like trains, right? I'm not like weird about trains. I just like they're easy, right? I'm not like I don't have like God damn it. I don't I'm digging a hole. It's like, but it's like you can take a train to Chicago and like get some reading done and just kind of have like a nice relaxing voyage there, right? And so like that like that's like kind of an option. But yeah, man, there was nothing like it, like getting to actually to do this, but like if you were actually in front of me, and it totally, part of it was a lot of the same, and part of it was absolutely totally different, and it just blew my mind. And that's all I've wanted to do is to do more cons. Like they're doing like a anime fest in October, like the weekend before my birthday. And I kind of want to submit a press pass, but like, I don't think it's got a huge comic presence, and I'm really into manga now, but like they're not flying Japanese creators out here for it. Right. So I don't really know what the manga anime scene would be like at one of these things. And I don't, that one of the deals I pride myself on when I do these interviews is that, I know you guys and I know your work, and I'm well read and researched. People may think I'm a clusterfuck, but I do prep. But like, so like, but yeah, going to like, I'm very much like, I appreciate that world and I'm exploring more in it, but it's not my element. Right. And so those wouldn't be, I'd be worried about like the strength of those interviews. Whereas, other stuff like, when I talked to Jimmy Palmiotti, or when I talked to David Mack, and I knew about like, we could talk about Daredevil and
look at your name dropping. Oh, I'm talking to Jimmy and Dave, Jimmy Palmiotti,
my buds,
Dave Mack.
my buds that I know now. Saladin Ahmed, so I'm basically Andy Nascenti. I'm basically anybody who's ever written Daredevil. I'm just interviewing, except Brian Michael Bendis and Chip Zdarsky, who won't respond to my emails. That's fine. Maybe one day, guys. Maybe one day. No, but yeah, I just want to do more cons. Like there was really nothing like it, and that weird feeling that I've heard you guys talk about so much, where it's like you're so fucking tired, but you also like miss it as soon as it's over. Like you're like so tired. You're like, I'm going to go home. I'm going to lay down. I'm going to sleep for 2 days. And then you go home and you lay down and you like play on your phone and like look at pictures from the con, or look at like other, like get on like Twitter or whatever. You get on X now. You get on X and check out the X feeds. And
we all got home and we're just wondering who, because it was funny because we got home and then I think Eddie D'Angelini, who does a book called Collectors, he's like, I got COVID.
I've been seeing that too. Like David Pepos got COVID.
Pepos got COVID. He didn't figure it out till like, he didn't test positive till like Thursday. And I mean, I didn't get it. I know Clay and Dave didn't get it. as far as I know.
Nice.
But it's funny because like we're all hanging out together, like same thing happened last year where I'm like half the people I hung out with got COVID and I didn't, and same thing this year. But yeah, it's a total crapshoot.
Yeah. There's like new strains and shit now too. Like
there's all new
like
strains. And Dave wears a mask too usually. So it's
really?
kind of like,
Sucker. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that kind of person.
No, but it's kind of like it's one of those things where you just, it's tough because, so few people wear them now that,
I still feel weird about it. Dude, I remember of all places, I'm at a Bass Pro Shop with my dad and my good buddy. And because my dad and my best friend go fishing all the time together. Because my dad's retired and my buddy has like this work schedule that you wouldn't believe. Like he goes to work at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and he's done by like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
And then so like while I'm here, like on the internet, like check out this Kickstarter, who wants to interview this person? Like, let me get you some review copies. Like when I'm doing all that shit, my dad and my best friend are like just smoking fatties out on the lake, like fishing all day. And so he gets to do that. So anyways, like I end up randomly going with him to Bass Pro because I was bored and had nothing to do. And so we go there. And my dad and I are wearing a mask, and we are like the only people at Bass Pro, of course, like thinking about the element, right? It's not the liberal hub of the Midwest.
Right,
and so like we're the only people wearing, and people are looking at us like we're diseased. Like people are like, oh, like, like giving us those looks. And so like we were like, my dad has like heart problems and shit, right? So like he has legit concerns, and so my dad takes his mask off, and then I was like well shit, if you're doing it, and I took my mask off, and it was like the first time since like hardcore quarantine and stuff that like I took a mask off in a public place, and it was like kind of like exhilarating and freeing and scary,
right?
But it was like I still remember that. But I even at the grocery store these days, like I still see people sometimes in masks. And at the con last year, a lot of people were wearing masks and stuff too, so I get it. No,
a lot of people were wearing masks at San Diego.
But yeah, like I got COVID one time and that was enough for me. So like anything I can do to never ever experience that again. It's like, please.
Yeah, it's just it's tough at a con because even if you're wearing it, then you're going out to eat, and when you eat, and it's just everywhere. It's just so crowded that just like. But he didn't. I know he didn't have too bad a case. He's doing good. So
nice. Good. Yeah, it's different when you get it and you've got the shots and stuff. Like I remember because I was vaxxed too, and I thought I killed my family, man. Because I got it, and like, dude, everything. I'm walking around with like Lysol and like I'm spraying every door handle. I'm wearing a mask in the house. I'm doing all this shit, and then both my parents got it, and I was like, well. I killed dad. Like, that's like basically what I thought. I was like, fuck. And you know what? You know how I got it? And I remember exactly how I got it because it started with my about to be brother-in-law. My sister and Kyle get married on Friday the 13th this year. And it's gonna be such a fun wedding. But anyways,
it's gonna be a killer wedding. Man.
Yeah, it's gonna be epic. I'm gonna get embarrassed the family drunk. I told Jessica Mason that. I was like, we had a meeting the other day and we were talking, and I was like, and she was like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's a cool time to have a wedding. And I was like, I'm getting so fucked up, Jessica. Like, I was like, it's going to be bad. And she was like, you're like planning on embarrassing your family. And I was like, yes. I was like, God. I was like, it's an open bar and I'm going to take advantage of it.
Oh, fuck yeah. No, you have to.
I also think I'm going to buy a nice bottle for the groom and I don't know what I'm going to get yet. But or maybe for his groom party too. But like, I wanted to get like something nice, for just us that like they have stocked at the bar that only we get, like if we go up there.
Right.
Anyways, long story short, my sister's fiance, it's Christmas brunch, and he made an iced coffee with eggnog and shaved some like fresh nutmeg into it because of some of the stuff we were making for brunch. So we had these like fancy ingredients. And he's like, dude, Blake, try this. This is so good. And I was like, oh yeah. And I took a fucking drink of fucking eggnog COVID coffee. And that's and then he got sick, and then I got sick, and it was like, dude, it was like 3 real bad days. And then oddly enough, like when my dad got sick and we were all scared of him like dying because the like the heart surgery, a lot of stuff that he's got going on. He's just like he's all old. He's an old cranky old man. I think he's too cranky to die though. I think he's gonna live forever. But that's I don't know. Anyway, but like he didn't have it. He got like my mom got it real bad. I had it real like I had like 3 days where it was like hard to get out of bed. Like no energy. Everything hurts. Like, and it got kind of like I'd never been that sick before. It was just kind of scary. And and then but my dad got it, and he when my dad gets sick anyway, he fucking cheats. He like sleep. He's like a bear and he hibernates. So he like goes in and he like covers himself like head to toe with the covers and falls asleep. And then he wakes up 2 days later and he's like, well, that wasn't that bad. And I'm like, you fucking slept through the whole goddamn thing. Anyways, but yeah. So no, yeah, COVID's no joke still. And then yeah, like, dude, I can't remember what they're called, but they are so many. Like I saw this news article about like new variants in the Kansas City area, and it seriously sounded like fucking kaiju from your comic. It's like the Megaracha variant is like it's like you're gonna get it. It was like there I was like, no, like because it's like with hurricanes and shit, like the names get nicer. It's like Hurricane Frank, Hurricane Mary. And then like with COVID streams, it's like oh the new Tyrannosaurus variant. It's like it's fucking crazy. Anyways, but yeah, so but I'm glad you didn't get sick. And I'm glad most of you guys made it out safe. Yeah. But yeah, here's back to this comic book we came to talk about. God damn. This is what sucks when I get to know you guys and you come on the show and we've talked so many times before. I feel like we did the same when we've had meetings about this campaign. Yeah, we ended up just talking a bunch of shit on everybody and laughing and making jokes.
That's right.
Not really talk. Well, I mean, yeah, we talked some shit, but like not like bad talk. It was a polite talk. It's just talking shit on the ongoings of comics. You gotta talk shit. But no, I get like you guys. It's just like when I get comfy with you guys, it's just we're off the rails instantaneously. But no, we got the daughter who's a key as we saw at the end of volume 1 with very, very smart strategic actually very lovely add-on that you added to the volume 1 trade. And like because we knew he's a family man, we knew he's fighting for his daughter, but we haven't got to see her much, right? And so I thought it was cool to like bring her into the story, and I love this even more because I feel like she's going to have a big part in this somehow. She's there.
This is all like, we're seeding. We're seeding everything. We're slowly, we're putting all the pieces together because she wants to fight. Mm-hmm. And for him, especially because he's this macho guy, he's like, 1, she's a woman. And 2, she's a kid. I'm not teaching her how to fight. And a lot of it, he's like, and as we explore, I think in the next issue, we explore his background and, he's kind of had a rough upbringing, and in his mind, like he knows what he does for a living. He's a killer. Matador means killer.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want that for her, and he knows that so he wants to protect her from all of that. He wants to protect her from the monsters. He wants to protect her from that violence. But the world is a really crappy place. And it's, I have kids now, but as much as you want to protect your kids from that, at some point, you just can't.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of prepare them for what the world actually is. And that's kind of where the story is going. So there's right now, there's a lot of, she's kind of this kind of headstrong and whatever. And he's like, no, I'm not going to teach you. And her uncle, his brother-in-law is sort of stuck in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Who's kind of like, hey, there's fucking kaiju out there. Maybe it would be good if she learned how to fight.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, he's like, no, I'm her father. I'm going to protect her, you know, and we'll sort of see that in this arc. We'll see that sort of start to crumble. You know what I mean?
Nice.
How that sort of toxic masculinity ends up working against him.
What is this fucking Barbie? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. As a joke.
Yeah, yeah.
We need to trash toxic masculinity. We need to critique
it.
No,
but it's
do fun things with it. Yeah, I'm with you.
No, but it's funny because it's, you know, the story really opened itself up to me when I had kids. I really understood kind of the story I wanted to tell with this.
Really?
And it's this existential kind of thing, because as a parent, like I said, you're always trying to protect your kids. You know, you always want to protect them from monsters or whatever, but you'll never be able to defeat them all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll just never be able to. And at some point they're going to grow up. And that's kind of, I think, the hardest thing for a parent is like realizing that, you know, at some point they're going to be on their own, and you kind of have to like let them go.
Yeah.
And
unless you live in your parent's garage and become a
YouTube streamer. Yeah.
Who does that? The best fucking losers.
Right. And the best you could do is to kind of, you know, raise them well and try to prepare them for that. Yeah. And that's kind of what ultimately, like, you know, the book is about. But obviously there's, you know, these giant fucking monsters and shit like that in there. So
I love that you're saying this, because ladies and gentlemen, what you're not privy to is so like I'm helping Steven do some PR on the campaign this go around, and I helped him on the last campaign too. But the last campaign, him and Jonathan Hedrick had campaigns back to back, and I had this idea of like maybe trying to be a PR guy, and so I hit Steven up and I hit Jonathan up, and I was like, you know, I won't charge you for anything, but like, let's pretend I did. And you can tell me at the end if you're like, no, Blake, I would not pay you for this, or like, no, you actually helped. And this would be nice to have someone like you do this. And the last campaign we struggled. Like it was a higher asking price because of the hardcover and stuff. But I mean, that thing went down to I remember like the last hours, like tweeting, like it was fund this, you motherfuckers. Like, why are you not picking this up? And it ended up, dude, that hardcover is beautiful. Like, you did such a good job designing that. And like I said, the bonus stories and stuff. Anyways, we're talking, and I'm thinking of like alternate routes to market this, right? And I'm like, you know, yeah, I know there's giant monsters, and I know he's a sexy dude, he's got long flowing hair, right? But I was like, there's definitely like a celebration of culture here, like especially with the luchadores and the matador, and the script is bilingual at times, right? And so, you know, I was like, you know, there's something there, and it's a father trying to protect his daughter, and I've made a couple ads like that, like, what would you fight for, right? And it was like, that was my fucking great idea as Mr. Marketing shenanigans. But like, I'm like telling Steven all this, and I'm like thinking I sound smart, you know. I'm like, dude, I had this idea, and it's like culture and a father, and it's like, what would you fight for? What are you passionate about? And like, what if we kind of like replicated that? And Steven's like, I don't know, man. Like at the con, I was just like, this dude fights kaiju with a sword, and everybody's like, I'll buy it. And I was like, all right, sorry, all my ideas are trash. Fire me. And then you come on the show, and you're like, yeah, he's like a father, and there's this culture.
Well, it's weird. Selling at a convention is weird because, like, the more conventions you do, you kind of, you kind of work on your pitch. And literally, San Diego, at one point, I just got, you know, I'd be like, you know, a post-apocalyptic throwdown about a matador who fights monsters to make a better world for his daughter. And by the time you're done, everyone's across the hall. And at some point, I was just like, Matador fights kaiju, and people would just stop. You know? All right, you know, sold. So it's
so funny that like kaiju are like very, very. Another thing we talked about, like, you know, about like when you kind of started like venturing into like Facebook groups about kaiju and stuff like that, and like kind of where to like spread the Matador seeds, and like and kind of thinking about like why kaiju are so popular, and it goes like back to Godzilla. And like I remember being a kid and like my dad taking me to Blockbuster and renting the black and white Godzilla movies on VHS. People that are listening, before Blu-ray and DVD, before streaming, before, you know, all this, there were these weird rectangular boxes with film in them that we used to listen to. Like smaller ones had music and the bigger ones had movies. And but you know, like, you know, even as a kid, like it was just like instantaneous. It was like, he's kind of a dinosaur, but not really. And these people are fighting him. And then like, then these other monsters come in and they're worse monsters than him. And then it's kind of like humans and Godzilla versus these other monsters. Yeah. So there's this very, you know, the kaiju are very much like vampires and zombies and a lot of these iconic monsters that are embedded in the history of humanity and culture that are just like, will never go away, and I never want them to go away. Same with like giant robots, thinking of like Gundam and stuff. You know, like all this stuff we grew up on that just retains its popularity as the decades go on, and it's interesting to me, like why. And I kind of like did some research, and it was like, you know, like the kaiju represents chaos, and like all a human being wants to do is be in control of chaos, and that means like you're in control of the chaos of your life. And I'm reading this and I'm like, how the fuck do I make this a Twitter ad? Right? This, well, I'm like, how does this work?
I mean, the whole Godzilla, you know, that grew out of World War II, out of the nuclear bomb.
Oh, really?
And that's kind of where that all came from. Yeah.
I never paid attention to the dates. I thought he predated that. I didn't know.
No, okay. Godzilla was 50 something.
Oh, okay. Do they touch on that in Oppenheimer? Has anybody seen? I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet. I'd like to see it.
I like to watch stuff on streaming, man. I got spoiled. Like everybody's like, you got to have it on the biggest screen ever. Let me tell you something, Steven, when you're laying on your couch and you have a I watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3 on my new laptop. It's a 14-inch laptop with a nice screen on it. And I use these. I got this new gaming headset, and it does it. It's got synthetic surround sound. That's not the word I need, but it does fake surround sound. And I watched that like with the laptop in front of me on a stand and the headphones, and I had turn the lights down real low. And, you know, if I wanted a snack, I could pause it and get up and get a snack. Anyways, long story short,
it's getting hot. It's getting hot.
Yeah. Well, no, that's when it came. That's when it turned. When the power came back is when I was able to watch. That was another deal that sucked too, because I was like, oh, Guardians of the Galaxy's out. Power, like some tree falls on our power lines. But it was a pleasant way to watch the movie. And when you have a smaller screen right in front of your face, it looks like a big TV, you know, like it. So you can. I know it's different. I'm not a Philistine, but like, you know, it's just like. I'm definitely one of those people who's gotten spoiled by it. And, you know, because I used to do that. I used to spend $20 and go see the new Marvel movie on a Thursday at midnight, you know, and before it dropped on Friday. And then like, I love gross buttery popcorn from the movie theater. And then you get a drink. This turns into like a $40 Marvel movie experience. And like, I don't, you know, like I miss it sometimes. I do want to see the Ninja Turtles. So I do want to go see that on the big screen.
I'm gonna take my kid to see that. I want to see Oppenheimer, but it's like what, 3 hours or something, and I know I'm gonna have to take long. I know I'm gonna have to take a piss, and I hate that. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because like you're missing like I saw Indiana Jones in the theater.
The new one was
really long, and I was trying to hold it, man, but I couldn't. And it's frustrating. They make
I know it's long. Like, it's you know? We just talked about that, like about Zack Snyder. They're like, they're like, Steven's got to take a piss, Zach. You can't do, and that's why he steals your ideas, because the movie theater won't let him make a 3-hour movie.
Exactly. Who is it? Was it Jack Warner or one of the Warner brothers? There was this story about him where he would rate movies by how many pisses he had to take during it. And I forget what movie it did a screening, and it was a little bit of a longer film for the time, this was in the 60s, that he goes something like, yeah, that's a 2-piss movie. He had to get a point.
That's awesome.
But
I
yeah,
just remembered like an
it's,
hour ago I was supposed to show off the variant that we have.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're getting there. We're teasing it. Yeah, we're teasing it.
This is I love the tension though. Like these scenes we're scrolling through right now. Like,
yeah,
I love the tension, the bugs that come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
And I also love like the impossible odds you build. Like there's a scene with the Matador and the horse when he like charges off into battle, and it's like really you're like running at a skyscraper on a horse.
Right.
And then there's this guy here, this father and his son, and this guy doesn't have legs, and he's like rolling around on a skateboard when all this shit hits the fan, and here it happens. Like this, and you can see it like right here. Like they're like, get out of here. Like, can you imagine that? Like to not have a whole body, and then you're in like a not safe area anywhere, because it's like a dump, like like a rehabilitation zone almost, right? Like it's just like buildings are already dilapidated and almost falling down, and then this fucking cockroach comes out of the earth. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But anyways, there's wild amounts of tension in this new arc right off the bat.
I wanted to do like those big summer blockbusters where you've got those parallel stories.
Yeah.
So there's the story with the Matador, and then the story with this dad and the kid, and they'll intersect at some point. What is your
go-to kaiju? Like what's your go-to kaiju? It's got to be like, you got to be like me a little bit, where like from a young age you experience something that like has now struck you and stuck with you, like into your venture into like being a husband and a father, and this entity has never left you, and you had to do something with it. Like what was the kaiju media that set you off?
I've always just dug like Godzilla, but the one that always kind of stuck with me was the Mothra movie.
Yeah,
with Godzilla. It's just so bizarre.
Yeah, they're weird.
He lives on this island, and there's these like island nymphs, and they sing that song like Mothra.
Yes. Oh my god, they're like the Oompa Loompas kind of.
Yeah. It's just so. Remember, like, it's just so. I mean, all those movies are like, that's what I love about them. They're just so bizarre, and they just lean into it. They're not like, what I mean. They take it so seriously, like, what I mean. It's like,
yeah.
And then I remember like Mothra spits like these like whatever spider webs. It's just such a weird, just bizarre, and I love that. I love that quirkiness, And you talk about earlier with Monster Matador, where it's there's comedy to it, but it's more serious, and it's funny because I write it as a comedy. And I do it purposely. I do it because I know, by now I know Fabio well enough, and I know how Fabio is going to interpret it, and he's going to interpret it very seriously, which I love,
Yeah.
And that mixture of tone, I think, just brings something out in it that you can't really write. You know what I mean? Like, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that, like, when the writing and then his art just come together, it just kind of like forms this unique thing that's Monster Matador. And I love that. I love that we were able to kind of have a book like that, to create something like that.
I do too. That's honestly like it aggravates me, because like I get a lot of review copies, man, and like I don't want to like yoke you around or whatever, but like this is you write good comics. You write better comics than some of what indie publishers are putting out, and it's like, this Kickstarter's funded, but I know, like, the stretch goals and stuff. I know you would have liked to have like got there a little bit faster.
Need more.
Yeah, like we need more money, but it's like it's like, what the fuck do you people want? Like, this is a fucking Matador that fights kaiju, who's like, he's sexy, he's endearing, he's intriguing, he's complex. He's got his own issues that he has to overcome. He's got past trauma that he has to overcome. And we got this great cast of characters that is being embellished upon that we're going to see more of especially as this new arc progresses. Afropocalypse was the same way. Like, you brought in a lot of new characters that were really, really fun and exciting, and like great character tropes from like a lot of great monster movies of like the 80s and stuff. Like you had a lot of fun with that. And it's just, I just like, I don't understand why some of these campaigns like just fucking shit money. And then and then some of you guys have like really, really great ideas and struggle. And it boggles my mind.
Yeah. Kickstarter's been challenging. I can say that. And I don't know. I mean, I'll have people be like, you're doing everything right. I don't understand. But, and it is what it is. I mean, the cool thing is, I go to cons, I do signings, and I get that response from the book, and it's great. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
So like, I know I'm doing a good book, and people are excited about it. And, it's funny because I'll do signings or whatever, and I'll be like, hey, check us out on Kickstarter. They're like, no, I'll just come back to the next
You're like, no, please.
But it's a different audience. And I think, and Kickstarter kind of goes and, things get like, when I did the trade, like a year before that, like trades were hot on Kickstarter. Yeah. And then they were not hot anymore. It became boobs. And I remember talking to Charlie. Charlie's like, yeah, trades. No one's buying trades on Kickstarter anymore.
Yeah. I remember you telling me that, and you're like,
so
cool,
it's not,
2 weeks into this hardcover campaign. Thanks, Mr. Stickney.
Yeah. Look, what, it's funny because a few years ago, I remember people saying that, like, if you had boobs in your campaign, if it was too sexual, Kickstarter, they wouldn't give you a project we love. They wouldn't promote your campaign. Now it's like you have boobs. They're, that's what sells on there right now. Yeah. I mean,
they got a new badge for it. It's projects we love now. When you got,
yeah. So books like this, it's definitely a lot more challenging. And part of it, part of the struggle I have is, people are like, well, you should do another book, but I'm kind of like, I want to do another book, but then that's a whole other risk of, and more money, and then that money is money that I could be using for Matador, which right now is, I'm trying to build momentum with that and keep that going. And there's interest in it and things like that. And, so it's tough. And then I've spoken to publishers, and, we've talked about this a little, and I don't want to talk about it too much, but it just doesn't really work for me because for a lot of reasons, contracts and things like that. But, the dirty secret of indie publishing is that a lot of publishers expect you to have your book done.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of back to square one, right? So it's, you're kind of, so for right now, I would love for the Kickstarters to be doing better. At the same time, I know we have a great book, and I know that, I mean, outside of Kickstarter, we've been doing really good, and, things take time. So
speaking of outside of Kickstarter, by the way, if any of you guys are new to this property, if you're new to Steven, Steven's been on, I think this is the 4th time Steven's been on the show, but if you're new to my channel, if you're new to me, if you're new to Steven, if you're new to Monster Matador, you can go to Global Comics. You can read the actual first issue of the first arc of Monster Matador. You can read that for free. You can kind of check it out, see what the vibes are, see kind of what's going on. That's a great first issue. And if you guys dig that, once you progress through the series and get to where Steven's at now, with the higher stakes, with just the art team, even like has gotten better over the years too, right? Like it's just like all of you guys have been working together so long now, like these new big panels, these new big action sequences, like, you know, everything's taken off in a new way. But I really encourage you guys to head over to Global Comics, give the first issue a shot. Like it's a great way to see what you think about Monster Matador, and it's a great free #1 comic, and Global Comics is a cool platform. So you guys should check it out and kind of explore it. There's a lot of other indie books on there too that you can read for free with or without a subscription. So really encourage you guys to check that out. Steven is on there. And then if you guys like it, you can buy the digital issues, or you can buy a subscription and read them, and
that's true,
and support the comic. Or you can go back to the Kickstarter. If you want the physical issues, you can get, like Steven's got you can get volume 1. It's still in the hardcover, still in the soft cover. You can get the single issues, some variants. Like there's a lot of great add-ons you can get, as well as like a cool lanyard and a shot glass and some other, some cool bonus stuff. I think you got a hoodie too, right? Here, hold on. Let's real quick though. This was the Burt Reynolds cover that we talked about for a very, very long time that like everybody should get. It's a wraparound cover. It's fucking gorgeous. It's amazing. Look how happy he is. He's so happy and furry and fuzzy and you know, like I love the fake signature on there too. Like everything he does to design this cover is perfect. Like Ramon with their heart. Yeah, it's so good. And this one's great too. The Ghostbusters homage is amazing. So yeah, this is definitely something to check out. Ronan agrees it's sexy. It is. It's sexy and it's fun, and you don't see a lot of like variants like cater to the gaze towards the male body, right? It
doesn't even have to be gay. It's just, you know,
not gaze, like the gay, like the not GAYS.
Oh, gaze, GAZE. I understand. The male gaze.
Like, Blake, you're putting me in a box, man. We're trying to market this shit. Everybody can buy this cover. No,
don't you know, don't put people in a box, man.
Don't put baby in a corner. Damn. No, yeah, like the male gaze, the female gaze, they need a new word for that. It totally, yeah, I totally understand why you're confused. I'm confused now. Anyways, but yeah, it's
I was like, whoa, where's this going?
Yeah, like, whoa, dude. And then like here's like volume 1. You can still snag volume 1. You get the hardcover with the cool book plate. Here's another shot of that shot glass. It's probably made. I mean, I think it was intended for tequila, but I think sake would go pretty well in that too. And apparently, you can just drink that all night, and it doesn't do anything to you. And then I love the new T-shirt design too. The black and red is gorgeous. This is great. That's awesome too. What's their? Oh my God, what's their name? What's the band name?
The Beastie Boys.
Beastie Boys. Yeah, the Beastie Boys homage. Yeah. And then there's some original art examples, and then there's the hoodie. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. That's good looking too. That's a nice looking hoodie. And then so yeah, there's some cool. There's the lanyard that you can get. So there's some cool stuff that you can get from this campaign on top of just like a great comic. And then like I said, if you're on the fence, if for some reason you're like one of those weirdos that's like, I just don't know if like awesome kaiju comics are for me, man. Like go over. I don't know why I did like a really shitty Sylvester Stallone impression there. But like you can go. I'm in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Anyways, I'm in Rocky. Hey, Blake. Respect the giant monsters, right?
Hey, why you gotta be like that?
I'm Italian. I can do this. I'm allowed to. My mother's maiden name is Ragusa. I can be offensive.
I was born in Brooklyn. I lived in an Italian neighborhood. I grew up around those guys.
Nice. But yeah, like seriously, like head over to Global Comics. Give that first issue a shot. Like it's free. It's ready for you. It's right there. All you gotta do is check it out. And if you do that and you read this free comic and you're like, Blake, you wasted my time, DM me. Like I want to know someone who really read that first issue and is like, nah, because like I still remember reading that first issue randomly and just being like, what? It's a matador with a sword and he fights giant monsters, and it was just like it just blew my mind, you know.
I gotta tell you, I tried something at San Diego. I was giving out the first issue to some people, and I said, if you like it, read it tonight, come back tomorrow. And people did come back and get the
nice. So, nice. See, I'm not full of shit. I mean, I am, but I'm right.
You are, but
right.
Okay.
Sometimes
you're not. Yeah.
But no, I
clock is right. Twice a day. So.
Yeah.
Broken clock, right?
Two times a day. That's all I get.
Day, whatever.
But no, I do, man. Like I love your writing and these characters you've made, and I think you're a strong creator, and I know things get aggravating, and like we talked about, if anybody watched the show last night, we kind of talked about this and how it gets kind of hard staying positive in the realm of indie comics sometimes, and like, seeing other people, comics is a very long game. I think people forget about that sometimes, right? It's a slow moving process, and every now and then, like, someone lucks out and they get like a lot of fast pace, like good stuff happens to them like quickly, or they take off quickly. And I think a lot of times, like, we see that in this industry, and people get down on themselves, or people think like, I'm not doing something right, or I'm not meant to be here or something. And those are really just weird occurrences that don't always happen. Like when my sister broke up with her boyfriend and got on Tinder for 2 months and met her fiance, that doesn't usually happen to people, right? Like, you go on a whole bunch of weird bad dates and get weirded out and creeped out, and then you delete all your e-dating profiles, and then you come back a year later for the same shit to happen again. But not if you're my sister. But God bless her. She's great. I'm happy. I got it. My brother-in-law's
good. Yeah, you've got to know what you want, right?
Yeah.
You've got to know what we talked about Dave Pepos earlier. Dave's been doing it. I'm trying to think of when Spencer and Locke came out, probably 2014 or 15.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
And Dave's always had his eye on the prize, which is working at Marvel, DC. And if you look at his career and how he built it and what he did to get there,
Yeah.
But it took time, and he's a great writer. I mean, his Marvel stuff is fantastic.
Yeah, I love. I mean,
he was born, but it's not like. He had to go and do, take the steps he took. And he knew that. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to get there. And he knew, he knew what he had to do. And that was his focus. And he had his, his end game. And that's what he did. He built a career. He built the career he wanted, and he got there.
And now him and Steve Orlando are both working for Marvel, and both doing Kickstarter shit still, which is where, David's, we still got one issue of OZ left, but I know Vault took Steve Orlando's new book onto Kickstarter, and David just today, David did like one of those, like, I'm so lucky, all the stuff I'm working on, and one of them was a new cover for OZ, and I was like, ooh, but it's still crazy, so even when you like get to a certain point, you still got to come back and finish what you started or try. And like, Kickstarter's a weird place. Like, Boom does big campaigns on there. Like, Kickstarter's not just for the budding indie creator now, right? It's a different environment. And one of the things that makes that great is that, like, there's a surplus or a wealth of like indie comics out there, right? Which is great. Anybody that has a story to tell, if you can tell that story. What's a bummer is that where Kickstarter used to not feel like a competition, now it is sometimes, just in regards of like what gets seen and what doesn't. Even people like me who cover Kickstarters, who have Kickstarter professionals on the show and like look at the ongoing camp, even I miss stuff, and it's crazy. Like, because there's just so much there, and now with like that dreaded algorithm and whatever social media outlet you use and stuff, and it's just like, is anyone going to see what I post?
You definitely feel it. My a lot of times, when you're doing Kickstarter, you post a lot, you're sending out a lot of messages, you're sending out a lot of emails. And it's always the concern of like, am I doing too much? Or am I annoying people?
Yeah.
But then my wife was talking to her cousin, he's a big comic fan. He always backs my campaigns. And like 2 weeks in, he hadn't backed it, which is fine. No, I don't expect it. But she was talking to him. She's like, "Oh yeah, Steve's got his new campaign, whatever." And he's like, "Really? Because I haven't gotten anything."
Oh,
And I'm like,
wow.
which is nuts. So, and even like I'll miss campaigns, and every now and then I'll check my spam folder, and there's all this like Kickstarter,
Yeah.
Kickstarter. Some stuff gets through, some stuff doesn't. So it's and with the algorithms, I think I was telling you today, like Twitter, I got Twitter Blue for a month just to see how it would affect. And my engagement has actually gone down on my posts.
Wow.
Since I got it. So there you go. But it's with Twitter used to be like you'd send out a post like, "Hey, everybody, do your Kickstarters, whatever." And I would without fail pick up backers, people would see it, and now you're sending out a post and you don't know if anybody's seeing it.
Yeah.
It's the algorithms have really it's become very, very, very challenging.
Yeah, it's a whole different world. And I kind of wonder if it's all going to change again in a couple of years, because we have Kickstarter alternatives now, right? Like Zoop is starting to take off a little bit more, but like,
yeah, I like Zoop a lot.
A lot of people
I've
like
spoken
Zoop.
with them.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, I'm just kind of like, it's tough because I may do. I was talking to them about once I get off my ass and do the spinoff, the Luchador spinoff, and do it over there
just to try it. Yeah,
just to try it, because I'm like, I don't really want to pull Monster Matador, even though like I'm still like not 100% on Kickstarter for a lot of reasons, but I'm kind of like, I don't know who's going to follow me there.
Yeah, you've been there.
It's still that tricky thing of like, I don't know how much of the audience is really kind of, Kickstarter is its own kind of ecosystem, and people like, especially like the big backers, they love Kickstarter.
Yeah,
that's where they want to be. That's where they want to get their books. But now there's Zoop, which I like. Then there's
Crowdfunder.
BackerKit.
There's BackerKit.
There's Fund My Comics.
That one you need to stay away from though. That's like
what I've heard.
New Age Indiegogo.
Yeah,
it's got the dark sides taken.
Is it really? Okay,
yeah,
that's good to know.
Because I heard. That's what I heard, and that's kind of why. I mean, I'm not saying everyone there is that, but there's a lot of it there.
Yeah, and then there's another one too. There's a lot.
And
it's
but as the years go by, some of these are going to get more popular and become a more viable option. And so like, in 2 or 3 years, the crowdfunding environment may be significantly different, especially with like, what's funny is I was talking to somebody about this the other day is because Kickstarter came out and they were like, you can use AI as long as like one real person is involved in the campaign or something. Whatever weird. No, but like, I mean, do you remember when like they announced blockchain and everybody was like, I'm done with Kickstarter, fuck them. Well, the internet almost burned down. And then they send out an update saying like, we'll allow AI. No one said a goddamn thing. Like, I was like, weird. It's very, very interesting. The battles that we choose to fight and choose to let go. But anyways, I think in a couple of years things might change again, and I don't know if that's going to be a good thing for you guys or not. Because like I remember David Byrne went to BackerKit and tried to do a BackerKit campaign, and it didn't work out, and he was like, "Yeah, that was a bad idea. I'm going back to Kickstarter." And he's about to canceled in pre-launch right now. Like he's about to, because we work on that at Metal Ninja Studios. By the way, I'm now sponsored by them. If anybody didn't know. Anyways, but David tried, but Zoop is the one that does seem to be, what I find impressive about them is they reach out because it's still just 2 guys who run that.
Yeah, that's what I really like about them. Yeah. They are they're very active in the campain. They have mailing lists. They
reach out to me to schedule.
Yeah, they're very much focused on their campaign succeeding, and it's kind of curated. You don't have to wade through 250 campaigns.
Yeah,
and I think they're gonna have their space, and they're gonna kind of survive and thrive because of that. Because But I think these other like Backer Kit and the others, it's challenging because you're basically just copying Kickstarter's model,
Yeah.
but not really bringing Kickstarter to it,
Yeah.
Whereas Zoop has they have their own identity, and they curate their list. So you kind of um, you kind of know what you're getting. You can have a little bit of faith in the product and whatever.
Well, and they figured it out. They're like, do you want to crowdfund, but you don't want to do all this shit by yourself?
Yeah, and they do fulfillment. They do. Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of services that are incredibly helpful. Kickstarter's interesting. I really do wonder. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years. I think there's a lot more. Like Boom seems to have ramped up their Kickstarter. A lot of bigger companies are now going in and doing Kickstarters. And
Neil Gaiman and Colleen Durant are on there now, like printing crazy money. Like almost, I think they did break $1 million. They were at, like, last time I looked, it was over 900K. But but I mean, that's a book that he already had out that like sold well as a novel, and then there was the Amazon series, and now it's back.
I mean, it's Neil Gaiman. You're good. I mean, it's just going to print money, but it's interesting. It's interesting, but it's been a very resilient platform. Every few months we keep having the conversations of like, the economy or this or that. But it's been resilient because ultimately
people keep coming back.
Yeah, ultimately at the end of the day, we're very thankful to the people who back us because they're helping us fund this thing, and they're paying in essence a premium. So and I think people were worried coming out of the pandemic. I drank this giant Pacifico during the show, so if I start mumbling, I thought you were going to be drinking. I was so excited.
I did. I drank. I finished my scotch.
Oh, you are? All right, good. All right. But, I think people were worried coming out of the pandemic that, okay, conventions are back. People are going back to stores. Maybe people are going to walk off Kickstarter and it's not going to be but it's been going. I mean, it's been going from strength to strength. So it hasn't really affected it, which is great.
No, I mean, even me, like part of my income right now is doing PR for these things. And like, I try to be competitive in what I charge and what I do, but like, that's still like, like we've talked about that, like some of these other people that do what I do, but charge like upwards of $1,000 or even more dollars and stuff. Like when it starts, that's like a huge, if you have even a $4,000 or $5,000 campaign, that's a quarter or a fifth of your income. And that's like before fees are taken out, credit card fees, Kickstarter fees, and all that shit. So, but I mean, so like people are still even willing to pay for PR, for marketing services, and still want to come back to the platform, still find it. So it's a magical entity. I just kind of wonder if what's going to happen in the next couple of years, if and maybe nothing will happen. Maybe in the next couple of years, like your fucking Matador is being written by AI and you and your wife and kids are out on a vacation somewhere typing prompts into a computer. Like, what happens when the giant cockroach does this? And by the way, my protagonist loves his daughter.
I like it better. I like it better when a human wrote it. No, but I think it speaks a lot to the quality of the books that are being put out. And because I don't think you keep those audiences. I don't think you keep people coming back if the quality of the books isn't there. And I think there really has been. It sucks that the mainstream sites don't talk about it, but there really has been an indie renaissance on Kickstarter. I mean, the books that are coming out of there, like White Ash, Charlie's books, The Jump that Ryland did, Duplicate that Carla Nappi did, the stuff Clay Adams is doing.
Yeah, like their last
Pride and Bloodline comics. I mean, there's just so much great stuff, and and it's also it's different than what you're getting in the shops. I mean, a lot of the, quote unquote smaller companies, indie companies, it's a lot of like the same thing because they're not taking risks.
Mm-hmm.
And on Kickstarter, you've got creators that are taking risks because these are the projects that they want to make. They're not worried about what's the market. Is the market going to accept this? Maybe we have to change it to this. Maybe we have to add this to it to make it more mainstream. Maybe we have to do this, and there's been, I mean, it really has been like when you talk about like, the 80s black and white boom, I think, when you look back in 20 years, I think people will look at this moment of Kickstarter for indie comics and talk about it in that sense, because there's just so many great books and so many great creators, like Monster Matador.
Like Stephen Prince and Monster Matador.
I mean, look, a lot of us started right around quarantine. That was, people were going to Kickstarter, and Charlie McKelvey. And his Zion universe. I mean, he's got his own,
he's popping around now too. Like he's on Zoop and Kickstarter.
Yeah, he's on Zoop. Yeah,
the waters and stuff.
But I mean, these are books that like they're, it's not just people kind of like, hey, I'm going to make a comic. Let me see. I mean, we're all doing professional level work. We're all professionals.
It has surpassed self-publishing. Like it's considered.
It has. I mean, and a lot of us
more than that.
A lot of us make the choice because going to a publisher is really not much different.
Yeah.
And you're giving up a lot that you don't have to give up, and you're not making money either way. So you might as well. But I was going to say,
might as well fuck yourself instead of getting fucked over by someone with a whole bunch of money.
Conor McGregor, Connor Hughes, who's been drawing White Ash. He just did covers for Walking Dead.
Yeah, he did. He got that series for Walking Dead.
So it's not so like the level of talent is it's there.
It's the same. It's the same as I mean, I would even argue, there's a lot of stuff. Even like
there are some creators like Stephen Prince. Who does Monster Matador?
But yeah, I mean, even the big two slacks a lot. I think sometimes, especially when they pull in like their B artists or whatever to like give someone a break or to like take over deadlines. Right. Like, I remember back in the day when I was on that X-Men podcast and with all the X books going on all the time, and like, sometimes it was just like, this art's not good. Right. And then like the art's not good and the story's rushed, and it's like, but you keep buying them, right? Because I got issue 1 and it's issue 25 now, and I got to keep buying them because like, what am I going to do with these 25 issues if I don't finish the run? And there's a wealth of talent on crowdfunding, and there's real comics to be read and to be purchased and to be collected on there. And it's just I think a lot of it is there might be too much of it. I just think that's more and more people have stories to tell. More and more people are going to crowdfunding, and I think there's a lot of people, after like looking at, like when publishers start shutting doors, or when publishers start like burying the rights and not returning them to the creators, even when they're not putting the books out, like, or the bankruptcy stuff, like when shit like that starts going on, I think a lot of people see that and they're like, well, why don't we just raise the money to pay our creative team instead of rely on someone else?
Yeah, I got scared off because a bunch of my buddies were with Action Lab.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, hey, should I pitch to those guys Monster Matador? I think it was Ryland was like, no, stay away. Something's going to go down. Obviously, and then like all this stuff with Aftershock and one of the things that
I like how I tried to not name any publishers, and then you're just like, Action Lab, Aftershock. No, I know it's public.
It's public. If it's public, I have no problem because it's I'm not going to talk out of school, but out of turn. But that's public. That's known. But there are also and you hear it a lot. Like it's weird when like you know, you hear a lot of it where people just aren't getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and where do you go? Like you said, like one of the reasons you're.
But I mean, but what's weird is like I'm paying, like the Kickstarter people are paying the artists and writers, but the so-called, you know, mainstream publishers aren't paying their artists.
Yeah, like the My Neighbor Necromancer crew. They had the colorist, the Mad Cave colorist Luca, who does like Nottingham and stuff, and you know they had a pretty high asking price for that first issue. I think it was like $10,000 or $11,000 or something, and in that live stream, like Luca was like, well, they got to pay me. And he's a fucking colorist, like, but like, I also know that I don't know what they were paying him, but I do know that like Luca is at a point in his career where he gets the page rates that he wants, right? But yeah, you know, and so yeah, there's money. Ryland has said that too many times, and he's like, you know, if you can get even a smaller Kickstarter audience and, you know, move a few hundred issues, like you can actually maybe make a little bit of money on Kickstarter as opposed to like getting pennies so that a publisher can slap their brand on the cover of your book and you don't see shit. Ryland said that on my show and his show and numerous other shows. So yeah, it's just a weird environment. And I don't, even as someone who works,
frustrating.
Yeah. And frustrating, but yeah, as someone who works with Kickstarter people now and works on a lot of campaigns, and the creators, all the same thing happens. Like when you guys have the successes, we don't know how that happened. We can't pinpoint it. When we struggle, we can't really pinpoint that either, because we do like the same thing from like one campaign to the other, right? Yeah. And it's very hard to pinpoint like why something works this time, why something doesn't work this time. And so yeah, it's aggravating. It's a struggle. And I think that's another reason why people need to look more to Kickstarter, because when you guys do go to Kickstarter, you really do have to love comics and you have to love your story, and you really, really have to believe in it to put in all that extra effort to make it happen. You know, you can't phone in a Kickstarter book, and you can't phone in a Kickstarter campaign. I mean, I guess some people can, but it's 9 times out of 10, that's not going to work.
Yeah, but they don't work. Yeah. I mean, a lot of times when you see a Kickstarter campaign that doesn't fund, it's either because they're asking for too much, which, you know, that is what it is. And sometimes that's what you need. And you just have to go back and retool. But sometimes I've seen campaigns where, like you said, they're just like, I want to make a comic, here, give me your money. And they don't, you know, and Kickstarter too, it's and you can see why a lot of those books fail, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of times you'll see how many projects they've backed, and it's zero, you know?
Yeah. That's,
and Kickstarter, it's a community, and part of doing that is being a part of that community. It doesn't mean you have to back every book for $20. You can just back for $1 or whatever. It's people will look, backers will look and be like, how many campaigns, you know?
I've done it. I've done it.
People will skip it over, because it's like, you know, like people put so much into it, and we all cross promote, we all help each other out. We all tweet each other's campaigns, you know? And that's just part of the community that Kickstarter has built. And it's really important to recognize that. I mean, even Boom, you know, to their credit, and they didn't have to do this when they ran their first Kickstarter campaign. I think they went out and they backed like 50 or 100 campaigns.
Yeah, their backer number is pretty solid.
Yes. Yeah. So that was, so, you know, and I think that's one of the reasons.
They get it. They understood the assignment.
They know, but that's one of the reasons why people were so positive about it and why they've been so successful, is because they took the time to actually recognize that, and didn't just come in and be like, hey, you know, we're running a campaign, give us your money.
Yeah.
They were like, no, we get it. This is a community. We want to be a part of it. You know, we want to contribute to it. And, you know, this is what we're bringing to it.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've done a lot of campaigns. And I think, you know, the platform has welcomed them, you know, because of that.
Yeah. We were talking about that in the old comic book discourses that I'm privy to. Like that's been a hot topic again lately. Because, you know, when Keanu Reeves first showed up to Kickstarter, there were a lot of people that were unhappy with it. But I remember the podcast, Blake's Buzz and everything was fairly new then. And I remember interviewing Kevin Cuff and Bob France, and that was like a hot topic, right? And so like I thought I was being like Mr. Slick Shit podcast host, and I was like, what do you guys think of the old Keanu Reeves on the old Kickstarter? Like, what's that mean to you guys? And Bob France was like, I don't give a shit, man. Like, Keanu Reeves is awesome. People are going to say Keanu's awesome. I'm going to go look at that comic on Kickstarter. And then when they do that, Kickstarter is going to recommend them like 5 other campaigns in an email. And they may look at that. Like, it's just more eyes on it. And I was,
it's not competition. I mean, it's people, some people like to look at it as it's a competition. If they back that book, they're not going to buy. But like, you look at, Charlie McElvey stuff, Charlie Stickney stuff. I mean, everyone's got their own, the nice thing is everyone's got their own identity, their own unique thing. And sometimes there's crossover, sometimes there isn't. But, someone, 99% of the time, it's never going to be like, oh, if I back this book, I can't back that book. Or, if people want your book, they're going to back it. And if not this time, they'll come back to it the next one. Like you can't really dwell on that. And I think, like you said, how you found Monster Matador, and I know how a lot of people who have backed it found Monster Matador, was through that first issue that I gave out for digital bundles. Yeah. Right. People will read that. So, and that's like, I'm giving that to my quote unquote, competition, but it's not competition, right? Yeah. Because we're all, it's like, it doesn't really matter. People like Boom being on Kickstarter brings so many more people into the platform, like you said, that otherwise may not even be there in the first place. And now they're getting recommendations for books that they never would have known about had they not.
And big media sites are talking about this new website no one's ever heard of, Kickstarter, even though so many of us have heard about it. But yeah, it's just like it gets into the mainstream media news, and it makes, dude, like he was on like the Today shows and stuff talking about that comic and shit. Like that was a huge deal. So yeah, no, I'm with you, but it's just, again, like I work closely with a lot of you all, and I've grown to know and respect and enjoy a lot of you all, and it's just like I see you guys getting aggravated, and I wish things were different, and I wish I had a fucking answer for it, right? Like my PR journey would really take off if I had the magic fix, and we add this and this to the mix, and you hire me and your campaign funds, right? But like, dude, even I know a lot about this industry and
comics. Comics are hard. Weird. Comics are hard, and one of the things, this was about 10 years ago when I was working in the toy industry. We were looking into doing a custom comic, and we spoke with Dark Horse, and they gave us their sell sheets, whatever, with all the information. And the comic market in the United States is ridiculously small.
Yeah. If you look at like manga and graphic novels sold like internationally, it's crazy.
Like the amount of people like that buy comics is so fucking small, And I think I told you this, and I was saying this on a podcast last night, but I did the Festival of Books, the Los Angeles Festival of Books, which is mostly a festival for books with just words in them, but they have some comic people in there. And I shared a booth with Fan-Based Press, and I can't tell you, people were still coming up and looking at the books and being like, oh, they still make these comic books, I remember these when I was a kid in 1901 or whatever. Oh, it's like, you know what I mean? It's weird how like you've got literally like the biggest movies for the past like 15 years. Yeah. Superheroes, been comic books. And yet there's still this disconnect between a large majority of the public that one, comic books are still being made. B, there's comic books outside of just Batman and
my sister said the same thing when like a year and a half ago or so, like when I was doing the press stuff, right? And I was talking to my sister, and she was like, I was talking to her about she has all my single issues of Nailbiter.
Oh yeah.
And she was like, they make comic books about serial killers. I was like, are you fucking
Right.
kidding
Yeah,
me
yeah,
right now,
yeah,
dude?
yeah.
I was like, all your brother does is get online
Right.
every night and talk about all these weird comics.
Right.
Like, tell me you've never watched my show without telling me you've never watched my show, you fucking
Right.
traitor. No, but you know, she was shocked, and I was like, so I gave her the nail biter issues. I was like, check this out, like it'll blow your mind, and like she didn't. Like, I think she might have read a couple, and like, but you know, but yeah, she had no idea.
That's so sweet. Blake's talking to himself in the basement every night.
Yeah, I guess people watch it, you know.
His imaginary friends.
Yeah. He just stares at that screen with a microphone in front of him. I don't know if it ever goes anywhere. Like, I don't even know if he's recording. I was like, I should tell her that too next time, because she was like, she told me the other day, like, because I had a meeting with someone for like another social media gig and some other stuff going on. I was talking to her about it, and she was like, dude, I'm really proud of you. And I was like, oh, thanks. And now I just remembered. I was like, you've never watched my fucking show. I need to tell her that. Like, how are you proud of me? You're making that shit up. No, anyway, no, I don't know if she's ever watched my show or not, but she knows what I do. But yeah, she was definitely like, horror serial killer comics, what? And I was like, yeah, like horror comics are huge, Sarah. Like it's a massive like oversaturation. Like it's like horror and superheroes is like that's what everybody's doing all the time. But yeah, you're right, man. It's just like we don't we think we broadcast it, we think we tell everybody, we think we got these platforms, and we're screaming at the top of our lungs like, read indie comics, check the stuff out. And yeah, there's still so many people that never hear it, don't know what's going on.
I live in LA, where we have like tons of awesome comic book stores, you know, and I'll talk to like a friend, or like, you know, one of my kids' friends' parents. I'll be like, yeah, I'm doing a signing at, you know, I'm doing a signing at Heidi Ho on Wednesday, a comic book store here. And they're like, oh, they still have comic book stores? I'm like, really? Like, the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
So
shit's weird, man. Shit's weird. And then even like, you know, but you know, even my dad knows, like, cause you know, like when you're like with the Comic-Con stuff, and when I got my press pass, and like my dad and my sister almost went to the con one day. They kind of wanted to go, but and I don't know, whatever reason, they ended up not doing it. But I mean, even they know, like, they know the convention circuit is so huge, and my sister, because of her fiance, my about to be brother-in-law, like he's kind of gotten her into like anime and stuff, and I've kind of gotten them both into manga a little bit, because I'm like, if you guys like this, you should check. Like there's this whole different world out there, you know. And it so like, you know, she's kind of like exploring some of these new elements of nerdness and stuff too. And but yeah, there's so much shit that people don't know, and it's crazy, because like, you know, there's a lot of people like me, there's a lot of these YouTube channels, there's a lot of bloggers, there's a lot of reviewers, and it's like, you know, all we do is do this all day and talk about it. And it's crazy to think that, like, with all this like screaming into the void, like no one ever, it's like we're in space, like there's no vacuum, so the void, nothing travels, and you're just like, you really are just sitting in the garage talking to nobody, right? You know, like, that's cute. But yeah,
that's so nice. Weird. He made a little pass on his computer and printed it out.
Oh, sure, a company made you a new logo. Good job, Blake.
Yeah.
You're sponsored now.
On there.
Yeah. Wow. No, you have a Patreon. Sure. Yeah. No. But yeah. So it's just it is, man. It's a bummer. And what sucks is that none of us know the answer to it. You know, and it's just like the only thing we know to do is to, you know, the real ones are out there, like you're still making comics. You know, you're still like, you're like, I got a story to tell, and I'm going to tell it. And hopefully, like, you know, more people catch on as the issues extend, as you know, as the next Kickstarter campaign gets planned, as I go to the next convention, you know, like, you know, a few more people every time. And, but I mean, even then, like we talked about, it's just, it's a slow moving process. And it's, it's not for everybody. And that's why getting discouraged, getting down on yourself, getting negative and all that, like, gets real dangerous in the realm of indie comics. Cause like, that's like one step away from stagnancy and from like, you know, I'm not doing this anymore. Or, why am I working so hard? And when you get that mentality, you're fucking yourself. Cause in this industry, you gotta work hard. You gotta push and you gotta push and you gotta push and you gotta lose sleep and you gotta, you know, you gotta deal with doing live streams every now and then where no one's watching. You got to deal with like,
can you talk to my wife about?
Yeah. Bring her on.
Tell her exactly what you got. No, it is. You really have to. It's a thing a lot of people kind of learn as they do it. They're like, and why a lot of people, they do an issue and they're like, all right, that's it. Because it's like, people sometimes expect success to come quickly.
Yeah.
You know,
boom.
but
Instantaneously.
It's a process, and you really have to. You have to commit to it, but you also have to, it has to be something that you just can't not do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's right. People always tell me, oh, should I do this or whatever? And I'm just like, no. But if you don't listen to me, then you probably should be doing it. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing of like, no one can tell you no. That's how like crazy we are that we do this, because it's just, it's totally irrational.
Rick Remender said the same thing. Rick Remender was like, comic books are not meant for you unless it's the only way you can tell your story. If you tried to make a movie and the movie didn't make it, and you want to take this script and make it a comic book because you think that might sell, comics aren't for you. If it, you know, he's like, unless you wake up in the morning from a dream of comic books and wake up from that dream and think comic books and go through your day and think comic books and go to bed at night and think comic books, this industry is not for you. And I was like, man, he's right. You know, you gotta have a strong backbone. You gotta have strong shoulders to carry that weight. And you gotta be able to look failure in the face and say, fuck you, I don't care. And then a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah. Just choosing any creative pursuit. Yeah. You know, you have to accept the fact that you are going to fail.
Yeah.
And even if you succeed at some point, or you have something that is a success, 99% of what you do will be failure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's any success. I mean, that's most even successful artists. Like, even people like, you know, Scorsese or whatever, you know, you listen to him talk, and there are projects that he would have loved to do that they failed, or no one would let him do, you know what I mean? Like but you don't hear about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I get, especially the LA con, I always get screenwriters come up and say, hey, I want to make a comic. I'm like, you know, what do I do? And I tell them, and they look at me like, oh, it's a lot of, they're like, I just want to make a comic so I can give it to my agent so he can give it to
yeah, like I just want that. I want someone to buy the rights to it. I don't care if it gets tied up in whatever bureaucracy for whatever. Like I just want I just want that. There's no quick fix, you know. There's not. You want a quick fix, you go sell fucking crack cocaine, man. You take a risk. Go sell drugs on the street. That's the only illegal shit is the only way to make that, or like get lucky and have a mail truck hit you, or have like an Amazon driver back into you and hurt your neck, or so, you know, that's the only way to like
that's
get
not a
rich
bad
quick.
idea.
Right? Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a long time. But you know, it's just there's no quick fix to fame, and people that think there is are full of shit, you know, and it's just like it's a long, arduous process. Art is pain and disappointment, and like you said, failure, and it's, you know, like you know, the universe, the cosmos, like it wants to beat you and grind you down before it lets you have like a modicum of success, right? There's that fee that you got to pay, and I do believe that, but like I said before, I do think that those of you that have been on this platform and continue to do this, that's where you find these golden gems like Monster Matador, is because like you guys are like, yeah, beat me down, smack me. I don't care if my wife tells me I'm wrong and I need to go do something else, right? Like I'm doing this. Like I have to. I have no other choice. It's in my blood. It's in my bones. It's in my fucking marrow. Like I have to tell these stories, and you are very much that with Matador and with your career. And I know it's easy for me to say this and probably harder for you to hear it because it's not easy to believe, but I do believe, or I want to believe that like that the payoff will come someday, right? That something eventually will will everybody make Charlie Stickney money? I don't think so. No, but like I do think that like when you grind and you push and you persevere, like I do think something happens eventually, that the world catches on to the struggle and things get a little lighter, right? Things get a little better. And so, but if you can't hang, if you can't walk that path, or if you think that the path is going to be a short and easy one, then yeah, comics are not for you. You need to fucking find something else to do. So I'm with you, bud.
Yeah. Someone asked me yesterday what success is, and I said, it's pretty cool to have a book.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not, I mean, there are things that like, yeah, that would be great. Like, but just the fact that like, I'm sitting here able to talk about this comic that I did, this story that I told, that's out there, that's complete, that like people have actually read, that they like, I did on this Ontario convention. I did it twice. And the second time was this year, and someone came to the table and was like, "Oh, I was looking for you." He's like, "Monster Matador is my favorite thing that I got here last year.
Nice.
And you're the first person that I came to see because I wanted to see what you had that was new because I need more of it." And, it's stuff like that where you go like, there it is. That's for a lot of people, they don't equate that because they're like, no, there has to be more than that. But if that's not enough for you, then you probably shouldn't be doing it, because really it's like, you can't really ask for more than that. Right. And everything else is, I say it's like a cherry on top or whatever. Everything else is great. It's gravy. And all of us would love it. But like, just the fact that you have people that are like, into your stories, that like your stories actually connect with someone. That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. No, it's that's the dream. I would even say that that's almost better than walking into a comic book shop and seeing your book on your shelf, because just because that book's on the shelf doesn't mean people are buying it. But people hunt you down at a con and say, "I came here because of you. Yeah. I'm excited for comics because of you. You made me excited to read again." Shit like that. Because that's another deal, man. Yeah, like, we act like there's a lot of readers and comics is a big. People don't fucking read anymore, dude, and it's heartbreaking.
Okay, another convention thing. Every convention, people are like, "Oh man, this is awesome! I want to see this movie. I want to see this cartoon." I'm like, "Dude, read the book." They're like, "Oh, I don't read."
Yeah, I'll wait. I'll wait.
Without fail, it's more than one. I mean, like it's crazy. So like it's an uphill battle, because no one reads anymore, man.
Yeah, it's sad. I remember, dude, we were joking around about e-dating earlier when I was talking about it. It's like, I remember when I launched the podcast, and when I said on my e-dating profile, like, I do this podcast and and everybody, the potential, dates like get excited about it, right? They're like thinking like it's going to be like a true crime podcast and maybe you're making ad money. They're like, "What's this podcast? Tell me about it." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I cover comic books and interview the writers and artists of comic books." And they're like, "Oh, like reading?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't have time to read. That's why I listen to podcasts." I'm like, "Fuck, man." Like, and it's just like, but yeah, that's another deal that's going around. So things will change, or they won't. Yeah. And we'll all go hungry and be on the side of the road with a cup begging for change or something.
We'll be old men yelling at the clouds.
Yeah. Get off my lawn, you non-readers. Take your VR headset somewhere else. Like, I want my books. I'm reading my old Monster Matador hardcover from back in the day.
But it's scary. I mean, this AI stuff is, it's
something.
something. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But I think
as long as you have one real person though involved in your campaign.
I'll tell you what, it's gonna be very interesting. But I think for creators, I think indie creators, people like us, like me or Charlie, or people doing Kickstarters who are you know doing their own thing. I think there's going to be a space for that because people are going to be attracted to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be more worried if I were writing for Marvel or an established company, or even drawing, and I don't know. I don't know what the timeline on that stuff is. I think to a certain extent it's inevitable. I mean, you're already seeing it in other industries and advertising and things like that. I mean, and you see it in articles too online. You can tell when an article is written by AI because it's just shit,
Yeah.
But for most people, they don't care because it's just a scan. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a quick 2-minute read that you can read on the toilet or on the commute or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a terrifying thing for artists, for creatives, is that, whether we admit it or not, we know that the things that we find important in our art that we try to do, like, to make things better or great or whatever, the majority of people, man, they just want to watch a fucking movie.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's not a criticism, but it is what it is. And that's the terrifying thing about AI, because it is good enough for the majority of people because they just want an escape for a couple hours. And that's where it gets terrifying, because you live in a world where everything is just kind of good enough,
Yeah.
Then you don't have those great things that are the things that really kind of light the fires in people, that really inspire people and really kind of in their own way kind of change the world.
Yeah.
Everything becomes McDonald's.
Now I want chicken nuggets. I don't know where you were going with that, but now I just want chicken nuggets.
I don't know where I was going with it, but it was getting deep, man.
No, it was good. It was good till no. I get what you're saying, because it's like,
no, but you know what I mean.
If I make a cheeseburger in the skillet in the kitchen and I caramelize some onions and I toast the bun and I spend a little bit of extra time on it, it tastes really good. It's a special cheeseburger, but takes a lot of fucking time. And then you got to clean, and then you got to put your kitchen back together, right? Or you can go to McDonald's. You can get too much food, enjoy it, eat till you feel like you're gonna pop, and minimal effort, right? And then your brain is in the end happy because it's full and it's satiated. That's really an experience, like you said, that world changing experience is lost. But the end basic result is still like, I'm full. My mind's not being mad at me about being hungry, and that's it. We're gonna live till tomorrow, That's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, and the Marvels and DCs, they know that no matter how much you bitch about whatever current arc on Spider-Man is or whatever, you're still buying that book.
Yeah.
And they know that no matter how much you bitch about AI, if AI writes the book or draws the book or whatever, you're still going to be buying that book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where it gets terrifying, because the way they're sort of positioning it is, AI is going to give everyone time to be creative and not have to work because it's going to do everything. And it's like, no, it's going to give everyone more time to be fucking homeless and miserable, because
I
don't know if I just because where's the money? Who's going to pay you? You think like Elon Musk or all these people could be like, oh yeah, here, take some of my billions. And these companies, like all these tech companies have done, is they've basically stolen people's work that's out there. They've stolen to create these things, and then they take all the money. It's what they did to the music business.
Yeah, it's very darkest timeline where it's like humans need to do like manual labor and lame jobs and like customer
Yeah.
service
Yeah,
and
it
retail.
really,
That's what humans need to do. Let the machines take over and tell the great stories and make the great movies and make the great art. Like, no, the fucking machines that we need robots in the grocery store. We need fucking robots, you know, doing agriculture shit. We need robots fucking sucking the shit out of porta potties, not
that's
not
yeah,
not
right.
fucking like writing the next great American novel or whatever, you know. It's scary. But yeah, it's you know, whatever. Like I think I know like every, because what I with social media managing and PR stuff, like all I ever see now is like on Facebook and stuff, and it's like, if you're a social media manager and you're not using AI, you're the dumbest motherfucker on the planet. And I'm like, cool, great. And even then, like that kind of AI is different than like what we're talking about of like, you know, cultivating images online that don't belong to you, importing them into a database where other people can manipulate that and not pay for artists, where a whole fucking studio can go in and make, you know, an introductory credit sequence for the new Marvel series on Disney and not pay anyone like we paid David Mack when David Mack did that for Winter Soldier with his real artwork, you know. And it's like, you know, we're not stupid. That director can say whatever he wants. Like, well, I wanted to replicate it. Like, what's farther from humanity than AI and then scrolls? And it's like, yeah, and what's farther than your fucking like paycheck from the end, like getting all that money or giving some of it to an artist, right? And it's like, no, I get it, and I think that's some of that stuff's going to repair itself too and change, or not. Maybe, I mean, maybe this is like Skynet, and this is how Skynet really started, and Terminator just romanticized it a little bit more than what it actually was, right? Maybe it's not, maybe it doesn't seem dangerous until like it's too over, until AI is like, and it's still not AI. Like I saw, I was listening to someone talk about, it's not like a real being in a machine, right? It's but they call it AI because it makes the technology seem sexy and invigorating and fresh. But you know, it's a weird place that we're in right now. But regardless, you know, there's still people like you hustling, trying to make dreams come true, trying to tell stories, and not just that, trying to put good comic books into the hands of people that love reading good comic books. And so I know things get aggravating for you, and I know things are sometimes move slower than you guys want. And you know, I'm still glad you guys are here. I'm still glad you got a new arc of Monster Matador, and I'm glad that you're already thinking spinoffs, and I'm glad you're already thinking about the next campaign. I'm glad you're paying your artists to work on it. Like it's inspiring to watch you guys. Just, you're going to keep, like, I'm going to keep doing my thing. I don't care who tells me no, even if it's my wife. You know, I love it's exciting. So, you know, I'm
teasing. She's very supportive.
No, I know we joke around about it, but you know, it's but there I again, like, there are other creators where like that's not always the case, where it's like sometimes they're like, all right, shit or get off the pot, like, you know, like we could go on a vacation with this money, we could, you know, and I've seen those conversations populate, you know, not with me. Like I said, like, I have nobody. I have this garage and the show. But someone save me. No, but no, it's still like I'm glad comic books has you, and I'm glad that you I'm glad you have the tenacity to look adversity in the face, and much like Ramon stares at that giant fucking cockroach with the tiniest little needle of a sword and says, I'm gonna fight you with this thing. I know it doesn't make sense, and I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm doing it for my daughter, I'm doing it for my late wife, and I'm doing it for the world. And that's, you know, that's kind of what you're doing with this comic. You're doing it for you, you're doing it for your wife, you're doing it for your kids, you're doing it for these fans, these people you meet at these cons, you know, and it's empowering when you stop to think about it. And I hope you occasionally get those moments of clarity, like between the moments of aggravation, like you mentioned, when you go to these cons, these people come up to you, they say great things like that. Like I hope that I hope that's enough for you to keep you here. Cause I just I don't really care about your well-being or mental health. I just want more Matador all the time. I need to know how this arc's going to end at least, you know, and then hopefully more, but no, like in all seriousness, like, you know, you indie guys make this industry what it is, even when people don't realize it. I see it. That's why I'm special, and that's why my show's better than everybody's. But that it like there's you guys. You guys have a magic about you that not everybody has, not everybody sees, and not enough appreciate. And that's just what I think. But what do I know? Yeah. There's the next.
Steve Prince has a magic about it.
We went from cocaine to this book's amazing, don't miss it, to a very heartfelt, like invigorating new way of thinking about indie comics.
It's just gonna fill the back cover.
Nothing on the back cover but like a Blake's Buzz rant about positivity and why comic books needs Stephen Prince. But no, I do believe it. But it is Friday, and we have almost talked for 2.5 hours, and people are still in here listening. Like, what? That's awesome. Great. I'm glad some other people don't have lives. I thought I was the only one. But no, like everybody, like thank you so much for tuning in. Seriously, for those of you, if you're watching this later, if you're watching it now, if you're not familiar with Monster Matador, you need to go check out that first issue on Global Comics. You can check it out for free. Check out the campaign. I posted the links in the comments. That'll be on Facebook. That'll be on Twitter. That'll be on YouTube. And also, like, if you're following me, if you're following Steven, we have definitely put that link out a lot. The campaign is very easy to find. So like, I really encourage you guys to go check that out. Steven's been doing a lot of press too. We've been sharing those interviews. Some great fun listening to him talk comics. As you guys can tell, he's always a blast to chat with. Steven, I like I said, I've almost kept you 2.5 hours on this Friday night. Do you have anything else that you would like to tell our beloved viewers, or should we both just shut up and play the music? And
I think we should both shut up and play the music right now. Back to campaign. That's all I ask.
Back to campaign. Love more, hate less, read comics. By Monster Matador. Steven, it was great catching up with you. Everybody, we'll be back Monday with Benjamin Morse talking about his new Zoop campaign for Captain August. That's the wrong. I'm saying that title wrong. Benjamin Morse is the person who's going to be on the show on Monday, though. So we got some more shows next week. Blake and Cole Read a Book will be back next Tuesday. I know we've missed the last couple weeks on that. Apologize. And you know what? I just as I told Steven how much I appreciate him, all of you out there, I appreciate you just as much. Like, if you guys didn't tune in, if you didn't listen, if you didn't give a shit, none of us would be here. Indie Comics wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. Nothing would be here. It would be the land of savage AI narratives that are boring and stale that you wouldn't even want to read when you're taking a terrible Taco Bell shit in the morning. And on that note, everybody, friendly reminder, this is a gargle into the microphone. Friendly reminder, I am now sponsored by Metal Ninja Studios, and nothing's going to change. As you can tell, I'm still going to be weird on the mic. I'm still going to have fun conversations with indie creatives, but we got some other cool stuff planned. And as this relationship continues, production value is going to go up. We're going to make things look a little prettier, have a little bit more fun with that. And to give you another little taste of it, I'm going to play this for you, and I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend.